Welcome to the Human Meme Podcast. I'm David Bowles, and today we take on the synthetic cause. Some ideas die when their monuments come down. This one learned to live without them. For a century and a half, the story of the Confederacy has survived every attempt to bury it. The statues came down and the bases were renamed. The textbooks were quietly corrected. And the idea underneath all of it kept moving, because bronze was only ever the carrier for something harder to remove, a claim over who gets to say what happened. Start with the word meme, the way Richard Dawkins meant it in 1976. A piece of culture that copies itself from mind to mind and adapts to whatever medium will carry it. By that measure, the Lost Cause ranks among the most successful memes this country has produced. Confederate veterans engineered it after the war, men who had lost the fighting and refused to lose the meaning. Jubal Early and the people around him built a version of the war in which slavery was a sideshow. The South fought for high principle, and the enslaved stayed content until Northern armies disturbed them. That version was false when it was written. It won anyway. The book opens on the founding move. Ask most Americans who freed the slaves, and the answer comes back fast. Lincoln did, with a signature. It is a flattering story, and it keeps 4 million people sitting quietly in their chairs, waiting on a gift from Washington. In 1935, W.E.B. Du Bois told the truer version in Black Reconstruction in America, and he called it the General Strike. As the Union armies pushed south, 500,000 enslaved people walked off the land, carried their labor with them, and handed it to the army that was breaking their owners. They freed themselves in the largest labor action the country has ever seen, and the Confederacy could not survive losing them. The Lost Cause was engineered to erase that, and for most of a century the erasure held. Then the meme mutated, the way a meme has to if it wants to outlive its first medium. When the hard version grew embarrassing, a softer one moved in, the heritage story. All ancestors and valor, with no mention of the cornerstone that Alexander Stephens named aloud in 1861, the plain claim that one race was built to serve another. When the monuments turned into a liability, the fight relocated into procedure. Partisan gerrymandering became a question the courts announced they would not touch. In 2026, the Supreme Court finished off what remained of the Voting Rights Act in a Louisiana case, and it did the cutting in the flat, reasonable language of neutrality. An old cause had learned to talk like a legal brief. It learned to talk like a personnel file, too. A couple of years back, the Army wanted its Confederate base names returned without seeming to salute the Confederacy, so it found a World War II paratrooper named Roland Bragg and restored Fort Bragg in his honor, a Bragg with no connection to the general. Drop the compromised symbol and keep the old feeling. The fresh paperwork does the rest. Then came the fastest medium yet. The Lost Cause took a century to travel from the courthouse lawn to the school book. It crossed into the social feed in an afternoon, and now it has crossed into the machine. Generative systems will produce on demand a photograph of a battle that never occurred, a soldier's letter that no hand ever wrote, a believable past averaged out of everything the internet has said. You have already met the early version of this, the fake photograph that fools a newsroom for an afternoon before someone catches it. The next version will not wait to be caught. Steve Bannon called the plan flooding the zone, and machines flood better than any troll farm alive. Once anyone can manufacture proof, proof itself begins to lose its value. and that is the deeper wound. My book gives the endangered thing its proper name, facticity, a word I take from Hannah Arendt for the settled floor of shared fact that free people need before they can argue at all. That floor is the ground the fight is now being fought on. The timing is deliberate. This is the year the country turns 250, and it will spend its own anniversary at war over how it began under a federal order titled, with a straight face, Restoring Truth and Sanity to American History. A government that renames the past while claiming to restore the truth has stopped hiding the strategy and started publishing it. My book follows one idea across a long stretch of that ground, from a Virginia fort in 1861 to a server farm generating history on request. And it argues that the fight has always been a fight over who controls the record, whatever each generation claimed it was about. Those instruments have never been this strong. I wrote The Synthetic Cause on a simple conviction that naming a mechanism is the first move toward disarming it. Once the pattern is visible, the race-neutral cover, the heritage appeal, the flood of synthetic evidence, you stop reading the thing as coincidence and start reading it as design. The move loses its power the moment you can name it out loud. That is the job I wanted the pages to do, to hand a reader a clear set of eyes for a fog that is thick and intentional at once. None of this stays inside the archive. An election argued on invented evidence, or a jury asked to trust a video that no one can verify, runs on the question the Confederacy first learned to game, which is whose account of the past gets to stand as fact. Frederick Douglass said a thing in 1878 that still holds. There was a right side and a wrong side in the late war, which no sentiment ought to cause us to forget. And William Faulkner, more briefly still, the past is never dead. It's not even past. The synthetic cause is my attempt to keep faith with both of those lines in the season when the machines are learning to rewrite them. The book is out now. You can find The Synthetic Cause at bowlesbooks.com, in paperback, and in a digital edition for every major reader. If these few minutes handed you a new way to see an old fight, send it to someone who still believes the argument ended when the statues came down. For the Human Meme Podcast, I'm David Bowles, wishing you a kind evening and an honored tomorrow. Thanks for listening. Be a human meme.